Whoever wins this will be the clear leader of Norway chess women.
Huge, huge game, and we are off. We have action, and will they repeat the opening from earlier? That's always the first question. We talked about it with Hikaru, the mind games involved. Okay, it's not the Spanish, it's the Italian game this time. Yeah, it seems to be the game of the round, or the opening of the round, sorry. Lots of Italians debated in round 7 of Norway chess here, and looks like almost symmetrical play at this early stage. I'm pretty sure I had this position when I was 5 years old, first learning openings, but there's some complexities behind it, Anna.
Very many complexities and nuances, move orders and maneuvers that obviously many, if not every single participant here that plays E4 openings, they will be aware of, but there's always subtle changes, and with shorter time control, it gets trickier to notice those slight changes. Who is tricking who here in the opening, and how much of this is a repetition? They played a Berlin in the classical game, so that was the Spanish opening, not the Italian.
Yeah, and by the way, just look at the symmetry on the board. Other than the pawn on a6,
it's beautiful.
It's copycat chess, and maybe Wenjun just messed up. She's like, oh, I meant to play a5 so we could play copycat. No, I'm kidding. That's not what she meant to do. The pawn on a6 serves a very specific purpose. You want to control the b5 square. But it is funny, otherwise, to see the complete symmetry. Just despite the simple nature looking of that, it is very complex, as Anna said. The players are jockeying for position right now and looking into their mind for the prep that they brought to the table, and little subtle things will decide a lot about the middle game ahead. So, all right, Firouzja has decided where to put his knight. He goes back to d8, doesn't want there to be any threats of the bishop capturing, and also maybe wants to play c6 and bring the knight over the king side. So remember how we said that game for sure was going to end in classical?
Are we revising that opinion?
I don't know that it's going to be a draw now, but we've already had 2 other Armageddon affairs between Hikaru and Magnus, Pragnananda and Ding Liren. Why not a third, I guess?
Yeah, they're not at move 40 yet, so the clock's still playing a bit of a factor. Caruana and Firouzja. Firouzja down under 6 minutes with 7 moves to make. Meanwhile, on the other board, the Armageddon, Anna... It's the other Anna Muzychuk. I was trying to find a way there. But the other Anna Muzychuk, who's had to allow simplifications. With white, you need to win. Do you think she's happy with what's just transpired?
She is in a comfortable position, but it is a good question, David, that is it enough? Is this slight edge going to be enough, especially after more trades of pieces? I think for now... good news is, I was going to say good news is she's keeping her time advantage, but it's not that much of a time advantage. A time advantage starts on 3 extra minutes. Now it's down to 2 minutes.
Yep.
She's posting up, though, the White Queen, launching herself forward. Yeah, Anna Muzychuk, she's great in these positions where she can generate a bit of an initiative, create threats, while not risking too much. Oh, Wenjun, though, she's the queen of Armageddon in this tournament, and she's... Wow, here just ruthlessly trying to get the queens off the board.
She's been so good at it. She's simplifying the moment she can, especially with black. She knows the format. She knows that she wins on a draw. And remember, she probably knows that she's won every single match she's played.
She's won every single Armageddon.
She's won 5 of them in Armageddon, and then she beat Vaishali in classical. But yeah, Wenjun has not won. Does that work there? Double negative?
Yeah, totally.
I don't know. I was kind of blacked out a little bit as it came out, but yeah, she has not won, and she would like to do it again, speeding up a little bit here. Now she's got a concrete threat to deal with on c7, and she comes back. She says, yeah, let's just repeat. Remember what happens on a draw?
So cynical but effective here. Just trying to force the issue. That's what we talk about, white versus black, the dynamics, right, Armageddon. We were talking right back on day 1 about how it might be an advantage to play black, the draw odds. You can really bully your opponent sometimes with the thought of simplifications, of dull, quiet, drawish positions. Ultimately, Anna Muzychuk retreats her queen back. Will we see Wenjun do the same? There we go. Not quite a repetition. The white queen's on a different square, but it's looking tough for Anna Muzychuk right now to win this game.
is looking tough, and she will need to find something that is not a repetition. She either has to trade the queens or move the queen away. I wonder what was she aiming for. Actually, oh, she pushed her pawn to a5, so she is allowing the queen trade, and by pushing her pawn to a5, she's claiming more space on the queen side.
And I like it, though. I mean, I love Ju Wenjun's chances to draw this and win her 7th consecutive match. But I like the pawn to a5 push. I thought she was going to go for rook a3, rook b3.
I
was
so
just
too. I really liked
okay. Yeah,
it.
that's what I was going to say. I liked about it, but I don't like the doubling of rooks by Anna. That feels like a bullet move you play intuitively. Okay, double rooks on the open file, but I feel like White's plans have got to be slow over there and something more concrete. By the way, speaking of concrete, Ju Wenjun might be threatening rook d5, and then the a pawn really feels the heat.
Ooh, wow. Yeah, there's always counterplay, and in such a position so tense, there's always stuff happening on both sides of the board, so you have to be really aware of what's going on there. Maybe that will help Anna Muzychuk swing her rook back over to a3, b3, if she needs to find a way to defend her a-pawn. Meanwhile, the g-pawn stepping forward, minority attack potential for Anna Muzychuk. That one is really slow, really strategic. It's going to be a bit of a race against the clock as well. Meanwhile, Alireza Firouzja against Fabiana Caruana. I'm going to ask for a vote. Who do we prefer, pieces or pawns?
Oh, it's a tough one.
I feel like I definitely prefer the piece. I'm biased, but also the pawns are slow. We're not looking at a position where the pawns are advanced enough. And now that the knight has come to c5, I see maneuvers like knight e6, knight f4 coming. I'm in camp Firouzja here. And by the way, more open lines means more ways for black to use those extra pieces like rook a8, rook a2. And yeah, I think that in hindsight, probably trading on h5, which you were calling for Anna, probably was the best move for White. I think keeping the extra pieces on the board here is going to help Firouzja have winning chances.
Yeah, it looks that way. Firouzja slightly lower on the clock, but it feels like he's in the driver's seat here. Fabi's been up against it ever since he was forced to sacrifice a piece, failing to land a mating attack. It feels like he's been backpedaling. Ultimately, a draw would be a great result for him at this point, but Firouzja, we know how ambitious he can be. And, okay, in the meantime, Anna Muzychuk against Ju Wenjun. It's just hard to look past what Ju Wenjun is doing. It's just feels so solid, so kind of in control all the time.
Yeah, she's doing great. She did force Anna to go back to a1 with the rook, and now the rook has gone to a4 as well to push the knight away from b4. But black has everything under control. I feel like White might want to push b4 at some point to push further on the queen side. At the same time, it's going to be hard to get through, and also the time advantage is no longer that big. It's a minute and a half for Anna. I think what's also crazy here, Danny, is that we are looking at two blitz games, but one is a classical game. The one on the left side is a classical game of chess, while on the right side we are already in the second game of the match between Anna Muzychuk and Ju Wenjun in Armageddon.
Yeah, but you're right. It's two blitz games. No, it's a good call out. It should be noted that it is officially blitz until they reach move 40 for Caruana versus Firouzja. At that moment, they will start getting 10 seconds added per move, and you may see the time go up a little bit, which I'm not even sure who it helps more. The person trying to convert there in Firouzja or Fabiana Caruana in defending, or whether either the players even feel that way. Because as I've said, I do like the piece. I will say if one slip-up occurs for black, White will play d4. And when d4 comes and that knight has to move, White now has 3 pass pawns, including the e-pawn at the end of it. So pawns in a hurry are hard to stop when you don't have a lot of time on the clock. We saw what happened to Magnus Carlsen in that time scramble versus Hikaru Nakamura. Even when we have the eval bar saying it's constantly equal, but one mistake and the pawns get going. So, all right. Speaking of going, look at that. On the right side, speeding up Ju Wenjun. That rook on the 5th rank is just sliding along the lift, back and forth, up and down, trying to target different pawns. What is Anna going to do about g4?
She's going to need to protect it. You protect it either with the king or rook to f4. She plays king to f3. That protects the pawn and also prevents rook to e4 because black was ready to jump in with the second rook as well. She plays f5. I like this move a lot for black, especially with the draws. You want to simplify as much as you can and open up the files. The white king will have no pawns in front of it.
Yeah, white's queenside pawns, still 4 versus 3 over there, so still some chances of life for Anna Muzychuk, but she needs to speed up. She needs to ask questions to Zhu Wenjun. It feels like in this Armageddon, she hasn't really made life difficult for the world champion. Zhu Wenjun in control, forcing the issue. It's her dictating the pace.
And d4 is on the board on the left side. We were just calling for it. Fabiano Caruana kicks the knight back. He's going to start trying to use his pawn advantages, but Firouzja has rook a2 coming the moment he has a chance. I'm excited to see what happens there. By the way, Firouzja under 2 minutes now, but couldn't agree more with your points, David. Anna Muzychuk has to find a way to ask questions to Zhu Wenjun, especially while she has a little bit of a time edge, but that's going away fast.
Going away very fast. It is a tricky position. She's threatening f takes g4, discover, double check.
Discover, double check. I love it. Sorry.
Yeah, it's a threat. It's not an easy one to fend off either. It looks like maybe temporarily Anna Muzychuk might have to sacrifice a pawn or go on some crazy marches with the white king.
I was going to say king of 4, I think, right? That's got to be the only... she does it. And that's nice, because I think it does force you to take on g4. If rook g6, I think she plays g5, and then you're really loving your king's position there. So I think Zhu Wenjun will take everything. Indeed, she does, and is playing quickly as she does it.
There we go. The position simplifying itself. Can black hold the fort here? White's 4 versus 3 on the queen side. Black has a pass pawn, but one that's hard to push on the g-file. Zhu Wenjun down 30 seconds. I'll just briefly mention, this is move 40 now. Caruana against Firouzja. Caruana will get the increment. Firouzja doesn't yet, but he will after this next turn. But the pawns are running. The pawns are rolling. And Firouzja is the one switching his rook back and forth, trying to keep an eye on the white pawns. I mean, both boards, Anna, they look like they're roughly in the balance, but they could turn at any moment.
They could turn indeed. I don't even know which one I would predict to turn. Which one is more likely to go out of the balance? What do you think, Danny, if you had to pick between these two games? Which one will go crazy? Or at least crazy in terms of the result?
I think they both have the potential to. I do think that Anna, now with an extra more time than she had. She's always had an extra minute, but even more than she had. Like you said, David, she has the 4-on-3. At some point, a timely d5 is coming. It hasn't happened yet, but watch out. At some point, she will advance that pawn and kick Zhu Wenjun's knight from c6. And if it's followed by anything concrete, could get ugly there for black. By the way, Fabi eventually played g4, and I was going to highlight, but Firouzja just showed it on the board. That makes h3 weak. Ali Reza slides right back to h8 and puts pressure there. But under a minute now, man, oh man, Firouzja going to get himself under time pressure. We've seen this backfire.
We've seen him crack several times under time pressure, Danny, as you mentioned, both in Classical and in Armageddon. Meanwhile, I love what Anna Muzychuk is doing, I've got to say. I think she's really asking questions at the right moment before it's too late. White's rook now on the right side of our screens is finally entering the black camp. Can Zhu Wenjun fend off all the threats? But here comes Firouzja's knight. Despite the fact he's low on time, it feels like his position might be easier to play, Anna. Big threat on the board.
I think so too. And if we recall the previous encounter in Armageddon, where Fabiano was completely winning on the board and on the clock, this is not winning. And he has some more time, but the increment is kicking in. So I think Firouzja does have good chances here to pose very difficult questions to Fabi.
I don't know. I'm kind of feeling the opposite. I feel like getting under a minute was a big sign. He's going to get 10 seconds back, but I feel like this position is less easy to play than it was before. If you just objectively evaluate what black has here compared to what he had 10 or 15 moves ago, it's like not any better at all. And now Fabiano has a choice. He might be considering even taking with the king and then threatening king to c5. Initially, when d4 was offered, I was sure you would recapture with the pawn the moment this happened, but now I'm not so sure. Okay, looks like he did take with the pawn. I wonder what he calculated there. Ultimately chooses not to go for it. Probably made the right decision.
Ooh, king of the hill. I loved it, Danny. But instead, he's going the other way with the white king. He's trying to use the white king to shepherd all of white's pawns, this massive pawns on the king side in the center. Will they surpass the black knight potentially? Yet to be seen, but Fabi playing active defense there. And in the meantime, Muzychuk still struggling to break the defenses of her opponent. Both sides down around the minute mark now. It's going to be a race against the clock.
By the way, in the meantime, have to make a shout out that unfortunately for Vaishali Rameshbaba, she has lost her second classical chess game in a row after going down yesterday to world champion Zhu Wenjun. So we're going to unpack what happened in the final moments there between the country women from India, but ultimately the more experienced player, Humphrey Canero, gets the job done, which again was a dish served cold called revenge, given that Vaishali beat Humphrey Canero in classical when they played in round 2. So much to unpack. Don't worry, we're going to show you what happened in that game. But right now, we've got so much drama on the board. Fabiano Caruana with a bunch of pawns for a piece against Ali Reza Firouzja, and Armageddon action on the right side.
Wow, that Armageddon is really, really complicated now suddenly. There's all sorts of king and pawn endgames that might arise, and it's tough for Anna Muzychuk to even keep the pieces on the board. But the clock, Anna, it looks like that might be the decisive factor. This is the closest Zhu Wenjun's been run in any Armageddon so far this tournament.
Very true, and a reminder that the increment in Armageddon is only 1 second, which over the board chess, in over the board chess, it's actually nothing.
I mean, it wasn't enough for Magnus Carlsen not to flag.
It wasn't enough for Magnus.
Wait.
Is Fabiano claiming?
Wait, they just repeated?
Threefold repetition.
Ah, okay. Well, that is dramatic and ongoing. But again, sorry, only mentioned Lei Ting-Jie because she was black and it felt like she was kind of holding. But Pia Kromling and Lei Ting-Jie have drawn their game. So here between the two leaders of Norway chess women.
And the draw between Fabiano and Alireza means that they are going to play Armageddon in just 10-15 minutes. So don't go anywhere. These two will be back.
We've got Armageddon action. We've got 2 more Armageddon battles ahead right after this one.
2 more? 3 more? How many? Every game is an Armageddon.
I think we have 2 more because Humphrey Canero beat Vaishali.
Oh, yeah. I forgot.
So only 2 more Armageddon battles after this one.
More chess is better, as we say, and this one, look at it, the time scramble. We're going to have to keep a firm eye on the clock. We saw what happened with Magnus, and here, will it be madness on this board? 3 versus 3 in terms of pawns, but here, Anna Muzychuk, she's so active with her pieces. Only white should win, but wow, a check. This is really awkward, suddenly, for Zhu Wenjun. Be careful.
What?
Someone's flagged. Zhu Wenjun?
Zhu Wenjun flagged?
Oh my gosh, she lost on time, I think.